Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Power to the Flower podcast. My name is Nairobi, and I'm your host. And I'm so excited to welcome you to episode 11. Yes, we are going past episode 10. And unlike other seasons, we will be continuing on for a couple more episodes and not capping it at 10. But on this episode, we're going to be talking about something major that just happened in Massachusetts. We'll call it the big shift. The big shift that happened was just based on the new change in policies that specifically were signed into law on 4/19, 2026. The governor signed this into law. It's called the Act on Modernizing the Commonwealth's Cannabis Laws. On this episode, we're going to be taking a look at what this law actually does with its new implementation because it was written as effective immediately. I don't know if you guys saw, but when it was signed, it was written as an emergency law. So that means that everything that was written in were to be taken effective immediately into law, which is amazing because we haven't really seen something like this before. Why that's important is because the Cannabis Commission has been now downsized as a result of this law from five cannabis commissioners to now just three. And the reason for that big change is because there were a lot of scandals that were coming out of the Cannabis Control Commission. Everything from who runs the commission, even issues between the executive director and the former chair, Shannon O'Brien, and then obviously the firing scandal with Shannon O'Brien as well. The former chair, Shannon O'Brien, came back to the commission and only really lasted about 8 months before she was also ousted. So it's really important that we look at this as not just a reform, but it's a response, a literal response to some of the political upheaval that was happening last year, the year before that, and the year before that. We're going to look at what this means because this podcast focuses on Black and Brown communities, on what this means specifically for communities of color and social equity applicants, okay? Because this does have some direct implications for social equity applicants in the state of Massachusetts or the Commonwealth, whatever. Massachusetts didn't just tweak the cannabis law, it completely restructured the entire system. How many commissioners there are. It also extended to delivery and that license type being across the Commonwealth and not just to those opt in towns. So now delivery operators who right now are only social equity applicants and those who are also EE applicants, economic empowerment folks, that is right now exclusively for this small group of people. And then later on, after delivery can expand beyond that focal point of social equity applicants and such, then other people in the industry will be able to have access to this and also will be able to add and scale up their operations. Speaking of scaling up, we also had another update within this bill that basically allowed for some of the license caps to go not only from three now, but now over to six. So there are some people that are excited about this because it means that they can expand their operations. In this episode, we're going to talk about who's actually on the commission, what this law update and implementation actually means for us, and then lastly, how this lands all completely on social equity applicants. It also removes the vertical integration medical requirement. So this means that those who are medical applicants or licensees, they don't have to produce their own flower anymore. That means they could purchase outside. And that's really great because it means that it also expands the market a little bit and folks aren't having to, overproduce flower in the industry, which is, again, amazing overall. All in all, this is a huge shift, but we're going to focus on the structure now of what the commission is going to look like and who actually is on the commission. What we had before was that we had the attorney general along with the governor, along with also the treasurer to appoint members onto the cannabis commission. But now, because the bill basically shrunk that responsibility not to these different executive office holders, but now to specifically and solely the governor. And what this means is that some of these roles, these three positions, one of them has to be a social equity chair. It means that also the direction of the agency can change according to an election. For example, right now we're going through an election year, and if Governor Healy does not win her election seat, then also this means that the chair would also end his term this year if there's a new governor appointed. But that also means that if the governor does continue and she wins her reelection, then the new chair can stay as long as the governor is continuing in their post. The commissioner and the chair is now synchronous to the governor's term in office. So that's either for better or for worse. That just means we're going to have a lot of different changes according to the political dynamic. So more than ever now, cannabis folks are going to want to get involved in the governor's races moving forward. So just keep that in mind. Anytime there's a gubernatorial race, and if you're in cannabis and you have a business, or you're a social equity applicant, or you're someone who works in the industry, it's super important that you vote for governor and all of the different positions, of course, but just because this one will impact how the agency is actually run. So let's just go into the commissioners. Who are they and what is their background? First, let's start off with the chair of the commission, who was appointed on May 18th by Governor Healy, and all of these other commissioners were as well. The chair is Christopher Harding. And so Chair Harding was once heading up the Department of Revenue, and also was the undersecretary and chief of staff for the Executive Office of Health and Human Services in the state of Massachusetts. So this is really important because he comes with some state financial background as well as some intergovernmental agency experience. The second commissioner to be appointed is Anthony Wilson, and Anthony Wilson is actually a lawyer by trade. Anthony Wilson has helped multiple different entrepreneurs in the cannabis space and has represented small businesses, which is really great because we have someone with that experience in the business space who can actually attest to what this is like for some entrepreneurs and also consider that while regulating. Commissioner Wilson also comes with municipal experience by being once previously the city clerk and the city solicitor, which is basically a fancy term for the lead lawyer for the city. And he did this in Springfield and in Cambridge. So in two different parts geographically of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but that's good because that means he also gets the dynamics from one city to another. And, obviously in two different sides of that. And then lastly, and especially most importantly for this conversation, we want to talk about Commissioner Delabato, because Commissioner Xiomara Delabato was actually just recently appointed as the Social Equity Chair. And this position, unlike the other two positions on the commission, is specific to social equity, which means that for us social equity applicants, we'll have someone who is particularly assigned to our interests. And even though all of the folks have to come with some sort of experience, this particular individual we can go to for our concerns for as social equity applicants. This seat is supposed to prioritize the issue areas and the concerns of social equity applicants, as well as amplify any particular opportunities that commission may see fit. So that's really important for us, and that's super huge. It's exciting. We've had it before, but in this case, it's the only position that is mandated, whereas before we had a public safety seat, etc. But now we have this one focus, and that just shows us that it's in continuance with the original mandate of Chapter 180 to keep social equity at the core here in Massachusetts cannabis. The role of this new commission is actually to implement some of these new laws and policies that were just rolled out with the Act of Modernizing the Commonwealth's cannabis laws. They have to update policy and regulate the policy that was implemented by this law. So that also includes the delivery stuff. It also includes social consumption. And that means that they also have to work really close with municipalities and liaise with them so that municipalities feel supported through this process of social consumption. 3 things to watch for us as social equity applicants with this new commission is, number 1, are these implemented laws and changes actually helping the social equity community? Are they helping communities of color or those who have been impacted by the war on drugs get into the industry a little bit more easier, with ease, more opportunities as they operate and cultivate? Another thing we want to keep watch of is municipal coordination. How well and how closely are the interests of social equity applicants being represented in the conversations when it comes to the CCC and a municipality for social consumption? We want to see, are operating multiple licenses actually good for social equity applicants? How is the scaling going? So those things we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye out as these changes and implementations are taking place. The key to this advocacy change is making sure that we're tracking outcomes. To wrap this up, Massachusetts didn't just change the law and modernizing cannabis policies, it recentered its focus and the mission of the Cannabis Commission, and also changed the people. Continue to stay focused, stay plugged in, and continue to give that power to the flower as well as to the people. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me, just listening to this episode and catching up on the Power to the Flower podcast. Until next time on episode 12, we'll see you then. Bye.